Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ro and Happy New Year. It's 2023. I can't believe how quickly 2022 went by. As you guys can see from the title, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my favorite movies of the year and my least favorite. So we're going to go backwards. We're going to go from worst to best just because I kind of want that countdown to be more exciting. Nobody wants to stick around for the worst, to be honest. So without further ado, let's get into this video because it's going to be a long one. I have, I think 47 movies, maybe 46. And I wasn't going to have that many. Initially, I was only going to do my best and worst. But then there are those movies that I didn't mind, like I didn't hate them, but I didn't love them. So I thought that I would still include them because I do feel like people are going to ask about them. And I feel like I needed to include them somewhere so you guys know like every movie that I watched in 2022 that was released in 2022. So that's what this video is. I will be filming another one of my favorite movies that I watched in 2022 that were not released in 2022. So my first time watches. That's going to be a separate video, but this one is just for the movies that came out in 2022. And in saying that, these are movies that came out in Australia in that year, because there are going to be some on this list that you will notice have a 2021 release, but they just didn't make it to our cinema here in Australia until 2022. So I just thought I'd say that and get it out of the way in case you guys are a little bit confused. So I have 10 films exactly that I find were my worst movies, and I'm going to go from the absolute worst, in my opinion, to the least of the worst, and then we'll go into the mid, and then we'll go into the best. So I hope that makes sense. So this is going to be more of a list type video, counting down, mainly because I feel like there's so many movies on this list and this video will be way too long if I go too into detail about what each of these films are about. But I will give you like my thoughts and how I felt about these films and why I'm ranking them where I am. The first one on my worst list might be, I'm not going to say controversial. I mean, it could be controversial because I do feel like some people really enjoyed this and some people really hated it. So I guess I do have some people on my side that are going to agree, but Men. Yeah, like I didn't even rate this movie, I don't think. Actually, I think I gave it half a star, which is really low. I think the only movie last year, and I could be wrong, that I rated half a star was of my first time watch of Green Lantern, and that was horrible. And to be honest, Green Lantern's worse than Men, but still. I just didn't like this movie. I felt that the very first, I guess, half of the movie was okay. It was making me really uncomfortable, to be honest. Maybe that's why, but I just didn't like it. I forwarded it. I guess I didn't really watch the last like 20 or 30 minutes because I was bored. I didn't like where it was going, and I'm glad I did that because I watched it in fast forward and there was some pretty disturbing things happening at the end. So I guess this movie is more of a not for me kind of movie. So next I have Fall for Christmas, the one with Lindsay Lohan on Netflix. Some people might like this. I thought it was terrible. The acting was bad. The storyline was bad. And if you want a similar storyline that's actually a good movie, just watch Overboard, because to be honest, this is basically the same thing. And Overboard is actually a really good movie. I don't really have anything else to say about it. It was really nice to see Lindsay Lohan again, but yeah, this movie was not good. So next I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was a big letdown. It had elements that I enjoyed, but what they did with certain characters and what they did with Leatherface, I didn't love. And this was an unnecessary sequel that we really just didn't need, to be honest. Next I want to talk about Gone in the Night, starring Winona Ryder. I didn't actually mind this movie at the beginning until he like disappears. If you've seen it, I'm not going to give any spoilers obviously, but until the disappearance, the movie was actually pretty interesting, and then it just went in this weird direction. And I think it was just more of me going into this film with some sort of high expectation. I don't know why, to be honest, but I just didn't like this movie. I didn't like it. I think Winona Ryder is fantastic, but she deserves better than this, and I really just did not like this film. Okay, so the next one I think might be a little bit controversial, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think that's what it's called. I hope I said it right. I think I did go into this one with a little bit of a high expectation because I actually really liked the first Doctor Strange. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was really messy. I didn't like where they took Wanda's character. I just didn't really feel like this film felt like it was a part of the MCU. Even though it is, it just felt disconnected from everything else, which is probably why I didn't really enjoy it. But I mean, there's a lot of aspects in this film that I didn't like, and I won't watch it again, so. Okay, so the next one is Beast. This one's the one with Idris Elba. I didn't mind this. It wasn't, I mean, it's still in my worst because I think I wanted it to be better than what it was, but that's just like a preference of mine. Some people might have liked it. I thought it was okay. The only reason that I think it made into the worst category is because of one of the daughters acting. Like she just took me out of the story, and I felt like she was really bad. I'm sorry. She just was not good in this film, and it took me out. And I guess I was comparing it a lot to the film Rogue, starring Megan Fox, which is very similar, and it's actually better than this, even though it's not a fantastic movie. Then I have Jurassic World Dominion. I know some people might be a bit upset that I've got this in my worst. I guess, again, I went in with high expectations because I actually quite liked the other two Jurassic Worlds. I didn't love them, but they were entertaining and I had fun with them. This one, I was bored. Like, I didn't feel entertained. I was super excited because of the original cast coming back, but I just felt like it was a filler movie, even though it's like the final one of the three. I just didn't really like it. I didn't like the storyline. I didn't like the antagonist. I don't know. I feel like I don't need to rewatch this one. Like, this one doesn't need to be in the Jurassic Park universe. It doesn't fit for me. I don't enjoy it, and I'll never rewatch it. So, okay, so the next one is Uncharted. I was super excited for this movie. I know some people that really liked it, but I just felt like it was missing something. I'm a big fan of the games. I played the games, I think in like 2 days I played all 4 games, and I really, really like the story. I like the character, and I just didn't feel like this didn't feel like Uncharted to me. And I think that maybe if I went into this film without that expectation of the games, I would have enjoyed it more. Nathan Drake in this film is played by Tom Holland, and Tom Holland does a fantastic job because he's just a good actor, so I really did enjoy him in this. And he plays a younger version of Nathan Drake, but I don't know. When they said they were going to make Uncharted, I thought it was going to be like adult Nathan Drake, and I was excited about that. I think that was one thing that kind of let me down, knowing that it wasn't going to be like the games. It was going to be kind of like a prequel to the games, and it just felt too easy. Like, I didn't hate this movie, and I think it's maybe a little bit harsh that I've got it in my worst, but I just didn't enjoy myself. I felt like all the little clues that they were finding were too easy to find. Things were solved quickly. It just went too fast, in my opinion, because I feel like they tried to put a lot of action and a lot of stuff jam-packed into this film that made it feel very rushed, and I didn't like that. So this was more of a disappointment, which is why it's a little bit higher on the worst list, but I do still think it's our worst film of the year because I was left very unsatisfied. So the next one, I feel like could have been under Uncharted, but when I looked at my star rating, it had a higher star rating than Uncharted on my Letterboxd, so I had to put it here, and that is Marry Me, starring Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. This movie is just so cheesy. And I feel like some people might think it's more of a mid movie than a worst movie, but I just could not get past the fact that I was watching these actors. Like, it didn't feel like the characters were them. I felt very disconnected from the film. I felt like I was watching them act, which is not what you want from a movie. And it was super cheesy. The music was super cheesy, and the chemistry between Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson was awful. Like, who thought these two would be good together? And I guess my final worst film, and I don't even think it's that bad, but it's not a mid-movie either, is Christmas with You with Freddie Prinze Jr. I love him. I was excited for this movie just because I haven't seen Freddie Prinze Jr. in a film in a long time. So I didn't go in with high expectations. I knew it might be a cheesy film, it might be stupid, but I was excited. I really do love Christmas movies, so I was really looking forward to watching this. Again, really cheesy, like Marry Me, but not as bad as Marry Me. I think there's a big gap between how bad Marry Me was and this film, so this could have gone in the mid, but I still think that I gave it a low rating, so I still think that it should stay where it is. It's kind of like on the fence. The music numbers in this movie were really cheesy. The main actress, and Freddie Prinze Jr. had zero chemistry. This movie just was not for me. Okay, so now we're going into the mid films. These are the films that I feel lukewarm to. They're not movies that I absolutely hate, but they're not films that I love. Some of these I might rewatch again, so I guess that's why they kind of fall in this middle category, but they did nothing for me. Like, I didn't feel any excitement. They may have entertained me in the moment, but they're kind of forgettable films. So the last spot of mid, so my least favorite of the mid, is Fall. So Fall is not a bad film. I found it very intense. I was very anxious watching this. If you've seen it, you know it's these girls that get stuck on this tower, and it's like a survival type film. It wasn't supposed to really wow. It did what it needed to do, which was keep you tense and keep you on the edge, but all in all, I didn't enjoy this survival film as much as I have past survival movies like The Shallows or something like 47 Meters Down, which gets compared to this a lot. I don't know, I've seen this one done so many times and done better, so that's why it lands in this spot. So next is a movie called One Way, starring Machine Gun Kelly and Kevin Bacon. I am a huge Machine Gun Kelly fan. I love his music, mainly his rap. But anyway, I'm digressing. I watched this movie for him, to be honest, obviously, and I liked the trailer. I really thought that it looked interesting. The fact that this guy, so this one I might explain a little bit because I feel like it's one that you guys might not know about. So it's about this guy who is like a drug addict or dealer. I can't remember which one it is, to be honest. And he steals money from a drug lord, and he runs away on a bus. Like, he escapes on a bus with the money, and he's been shot. So this whole trip he's like bleeding out, and this girl that's on the bus tries to like help him and find out what's going on, and they're chasing him and they're trying to find him, like the drug lords, and like that's the main gist of the movie. I actually enjoyed this one. I didn't hate it. It's not one that I would rewatch. I think the performances were really solid, which is why I quite enjoyed this one. From the lead girl, the young girl, she's fantastic. She's the actress, and I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but she's one of the actresses that's in Euphoria. I think she's Rue's sister in Euphoria, and she is fantastic in this movie. Her and Colson Baker, aka Machine Gun Kelly, carried this movie. Without them, the movie wouldn't be that good. It would be very, very mid, which it is, I guess. But them two kept me invested. Like, they kept me wanting to know what was going to happen. I would really like to see Colson do more movies like this, because I actually do think he's good. He's a good actor. And I'm not saying that because I'm being biased, because I love him, but I actually do think he's good, and I would love to see him in more like serious roles and like thriller roles. So I was really excited that this was an action thriller that he was in, because most of the time he's not a lead in a movie, so I was really like happy that he got a lead role. Next, I have My Best Friend's Exorcism. I absolutely loved the book, so I was super excited when I found out they were making it into a movie. They changed a lot in this movie, and I was disappointed with that. I will say that the girl who plays the possessed best friend is amazing. She is so good. She actually carries this movie, because it really wasn't a great film. I probably would rewatch it, but I just didn't love the dynamic between the best friends, whereas in the book, they're super close and you feel that like friendship grow and feel like it's really strong, whereas in the movie, it doesn't feel that way and you don't feel that connection to the characters. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, because this movie wasn't the worst, but to me, like it could have been better, because the book was just, it was so good and one of my favorite books, so I was expecting a little bit more. Okay, so the next one is probably people's favorite film of the year. I feel like this might shock a few of you, but at the same time, I feel like you get it, because you either love this movie or you don't love it, and that is Terrifier 2. I actually really enjoyed this. I don't want you guys to think that I didn't. That's why it's in my mid. It's not in my worst. I actually quite enjoyed this. I thought it was really entertaining. It was a little bit too long, in my opinion. I don't think it needed to be that long. The ending is what ruined this for me. I was having a good time throughout. Did it have much of a plot? Not really, but the first one didn't either, and to be honest, I prefer this one over the first one. I think this one's a lot better than the first one. The ending of this movie was just ridiculous, and I couldn't. I probably won't be rewatching it. So next I have Senior Year. This is the film starring Rebel Wilson. I quite enjoyed the very first half of this film. I really liked the acting from the younger version of Rebel Wilson in the movie. I think she did a really good job. I liked that they felt like the same character, which is what you want from these kind of like 17 Again type films. But like, it's been done before and it's been done better, so I didn't love this, but I didn't hate it. It did make me laugh a couple of times. There are a few lines in this film that were funny. I really don't have anything else to say. Sometimes I like Rebel Wilson, she's funny, and other times she kind of annoys me. So this movie had me like in that region, like that mid region, which makes sense as to where I put it. Then I have Moloch. This is a foreign horror film. I didn't love this movie. I didn't hate it. I thought that the first three quarters of this film were actually pretty interesting, and I really liked where this was going, but I didn't like the final act. I didn't like the last quarter of the movie. The creature in this is so scary. Like I genuinely was like frightened of this thing, but I just didn't feel satisfied by the end. Next I have the film Blonde, starring Ana de Armas. I don't know how I feel about this movie, to be honest. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people seem to have hated it. I do think that it's a little too much with the sexualization of Marilyn. I know that this isn't a true story. I know that it's based on a book that's supposed to be fictionalized, but I've seen this film before. The original movie that came out from the book starred Poppy Montgomery, and it was like a mini-series movie. I actually really liked that. Like, I remember really loving that movie. So the fact that I liked the old one and this one could have been made better, but it pushed the envelope a little too far for me. I didn't like it. I will say though that Ana de Armas is probably the main reason why this film is still watchable, because she's so good in this. She does such a fantastic performance of Marilyn, and I know people have a cry about how she doesn't look like her, or that nobody can look like Marilyn. Of course, Marilyn Monroe is Marilyn Monroe. Like, it's annoying when people do that, but her acting was really great in this. And the fact that she usually has an accent and learnt to kind of let it fade in portraying Marilyn correctly, I think that that was amazing, and she did such a good job. I think that she deserves flowers for this movie. This movie may not have been the movie that everybody wanted it to be, but it really showcases Ana de Armas's talent, and I'm glad because I absolutely love her and I've seen her in so many films. So to see her actually be like front and center in something and showcase her talent makes me happy, and I hope that this shows Hollywood that she's amazing and she gets more roles because of this. But I think that that's the only positive from this film. I think that that's all that's going to come out of it. Next, I have Orphan First Kill. This is a sequel to the first film, Orphan. Did we need this movie? No. No, we didn't. It was okay. I, again, didn't hate it, but it was very forgettable for me. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Then I have Death on the Nile. This is a Agatha Christie adaptation. It's been done before. It feels like a lot of Agatha Christie movies are being made now. I was looking forward to this movie a lot. I think I did have high expectations for this one. I did read the book first before I watched the movie, and I enjoyed the book a lot more than the film. I didn't particularly love the acting in this film. It felt a little bit rushed, and there was more jam-packed in the book of like in regards to clues and stuff like that, but in the film it just felt like they brushed past a lot of that stuff, and I just did not enjoy it as much as I wish I had. So next I have Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I know this is another one that people absolutely love. I just didn't. I wish I did. I really, really wanted to love this. I went in with high expectations because of how many people that I admire on YouTube, on FilmTube, talking about how much they love it. I just didn't really feel that when I finished the movie. I didn't feel anything really for this movie. I liked that it was different. I will say that. I really enjoyed that this was very different. It didn't feel like a copy paste of other slasher films, I'm gonna say, but if you've seen it, it's way more than that. It's definitely more than that. I did like the twist, but I didn't love it. It wasn't something that completely wowed me, and I felt very mediocre about it. So unfortunately, not one of my favorites. Would I rewatch it? Maybe if I was in the right mood, but it's not something I'm rushing to see again. So next I have Resurrection. This is another one that's going to be controversial because I know a lot of people loved this movie. I initially gave it 2.5 stars, and then I felt like it wasn't fair to do that. I mean, that's half of 5, so it's not bad. For me, 2.5 stars and up is actually not that bad, but I feel like it deserved to be a little bit higher. It was going to be lower in this list, and I just felt like it was better than Death on the Nile, so I kicked it back up to 3, and it was more because this movie was not for me. It's not a movie that I enjoyed. It's not a movie that I would rewatch. It's something that I just didn't really feel much for, so that's why I gave it the 2.5 stars. But I feel like as a film in general, the way that it was made, the tension building, the anxiety that you get from watching this, I decided to give it 3. There's this monologue that Rebecca Hall does mid-movie where she talks about why she's so scared of this person that's like back in her life, and that monologue was like hard to take in. It was a lot to take in. It really did feel like the film Men, but better, and other people have said the same thing. I still don't think this was a fantastic movie in my opinion. I definitely went in with high expectations because of all the hype. So maybe if I hadn't, I might have enjoyed it more. Like I said, I really did love the tension building all the way through till the very end, but those last 10 to 15 minutes just didn't really fulfill anything for me. Okay, so next I have Halloween Ends. This is the final film of the Halloween Kills trilogy. I don't know if this has actually got a name, this trilogy, but it's the final one of all of them. I liked this one a lot more than Kills. You have two types of people. You have the people that really love Kills and hated Ends, and then you have the people like me who hated Kills and loved Ends. So I actually quite enjoyed this. I definitely think that the storyline at the beginning of this film was really strong, and if they had kept that storyline all the way through, I would have really enjoyed it. The Michael Myers and Laurie Strode showdown did nothing for me. I feel like that could have happened in Kills. There was so much happening in Kills that could have been changed. I honestly feel like Kills and Ends could have been one movie, and they could have condensed a lot of stuff, and the townsfolk and that stuff really pissed me off. If they had mixed the two of them together, I think it would have been a really good film, but unfortunately this still didn't fulfill anything for me. It wasn't my favorite Halloween film. In saying that, I didn't really love the 2019 one anyway. The first one, was it 2019? God, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but I guess it was. I didn't love that one either. So this new trilogy wasn't my favorite anyway, but I did enjoy this, and the very first opening scene in this film was insane, and I think that was the best part of this movie. The kills are insane. The kills are great. I loved the kills in this. Next I have Don't Worry Darling, starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. This film was very, very anticipated and hyped. I feel like this movie had really great publicity. It came out with all this drama, and I'm not going to go into it because I actually don't care, but I really did want to love this movie. I was so excited for this movie. Like, I love Harry Styles. I wanted a Harry Styles thriller, and this was what I was getting, and I was super keen on it, but unfortunately it just didn't get there. The very first half of the movie is so good, and it's just so disappointing because that first half, like, it could have been a favorite, but then the last half just dragged, and I feel like too much happened repetitively at the beginning that could have been condensed, and then the end could have been a lot faster. And I did like the twist, but I just didn't like how it was executed, and I can't give too much away without spoiling it, so I don't want to. I really want to see Harry Styles in a thriller where he's like a serial killer, because I feel like he could do it. And if you've seen this movie, you'll know what I mean when I'm talking about that. I would really like to see that. But in saying that, I don't think his performance was that strong in this. I definitely think that Florence Pugh, carried this film. She was so good, and I feel like this role may not have been right for Harry, but I still liked him in the role. I think him and Florence Pugh had really good chemistry. Yeah, unfortunately this wasn't a favorite. Okay, so the next one is going to be very cheesy, and I know, but I'm going to put it here anyway, and that is the Noel Diary. Listen, I love my Christmas movies, okay? I watched so many new Christmas movies this year, and like that year, 2022, I keep forgetting it's 2023 now. I watched so many new Christmas movies in December, and I actually enjoyed this. I thought it was good. The only reason that I don't have it like in a favorites, I probably wouldn't have anyway, it might have been higher on this list though, is because of the cheating. I'm just not a fan of that. Like, didn't need to happen. If that part was taken out, I think I would have enjoyed this movie a lot more. But I love Justin Hartley, and this could be just me being biased because I love him. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. So the next one's another Christmas one that is Something from Tiffany's, starring Zoe Douche. I love her. I will watch anything that stars Zoe Douche, so that is why I watched this film. I actually enjoyed this. I thought it was really cute. I liked the chemistry between the two leads. I really liked the storyline. I think it's a very cute Christmas movie. I probably would watch it again under the right circumstances, not in a rush to watch it. It's not my new favorite rom-com, but I do think it was cute and I enjoyed it. So the next one that I have on this list is Disenchanted. I was so keen on this. I was so looking forward to this because I absolutely love Enchanted, and I love Amy Adams in this role, and I was looking forward to this. So I liked this. I enjoyed myself with this. It wasn't a favorite. It wasn't better than the first one. It felt a little bit more cheesy. I didn't love this. I felt very meh about it. There was some great stuff in this. There was some really funny scenes and some really like over the top performances that I really enjoyed, but all in all it just didn't make into my favorites because it just wasn't a favorite for me. The next one was also really fun. This was The Lost City starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt. This one was funny. It was fun. It was cute. I feel like the chemistry between Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum wasn't completely there, but it was also not the worst. So I didn't hate it. There's so many surprising, funny bits in this, so I did enjoy it. It also reminded me a lot of Romancing the Stone, but I loved Romancing the Stone a lot more. So if you haven't seen either of them, I would suggest watching Romancing the Stone instead because it's a better movie, it's funnier, and it's more entertaining. So the last two, I'm gonna say in the mid category, so I've got two left, kind of walk the line between mid and fave, but I just wasn't too sure, so that's why I stuck them in the mid. So the next one is The Northman, starring Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy. Really loved the performances in this, really liked the action in this. I liked the storyline. I thought it was very interesting. I love Nicole Kidman as well in this. The visuals were beautiful. I really liked this film. I just didn't love it. And the ending kind of bummed me out. I wasn't completely over the moon about the ending, so I think that that's mainly why it's not a favorite, but I did really like it visually and I do think it's worth watching. And the last one in the mid category that I feel like I liked a little bit more than everything else on this list is Fresh. This could have been in my favorites, but it's not something that I know I'm going to gravitate towards watching again. It made me uncomfortable for sure, if you know the subject matter of this. And I'm actually really grateful that it wasn't too gory. It didn't go too into detail with this subject matter because I definitely would have felt very uncomfortable watching this movie if it had, more uncomfortable than I already did. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. The last 20 or so minutes were really intense. I really liked those last 20 minutes. I think that was my favorite part of the movie. It's not as gory or gross in the way that you would expect from this type of movie, which is good. So if you were kind of scared to watch it because of the subject matter, I actually don't think it doesn't push the boundaries too much. Okay, so now I've got 18 films in the best category. I am actually surprised that I have so many. I didn't think there was going to be this many. So firstly, I want to talk about a film that I only just recently finished. I actually watched it on the 31st of December, so I was pushing my luck, but that is HELLRAISER. This is the remake, or I guess it's not really a remake, it's more of a sequel, I guess, or part of the universe, and I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. The visuals were fantastic. The gore was perfect in my opinion, like it didn't go over the top. And it went really well with the story. It didn't feel like they were just doing it to do it. I think that this film was really well made. I really enjoyed the performances in this movie. I really liked the lead girl. I hope she does more horror because she's really good in this. I like the fact that they showed Pinhead a lot in this film compared to the original, where Pinhead's only in it for like 5 minutes. I really liked the storyline. I thought that was really solid. And I liked the pacing of this film. I think this film was really, really well made. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't think it's like an absolute favorite, but I still think it deserves to be in my best because I really did enjoy myself watching this. So at 17, I want to talk about Smile. I know this is probably some of you guys' favorite film of the year. It's probably in your top 10, but for me it just didn't make it there, but I still really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was very effective with what it was doing. It was very different from anything I had seen before, which I really liked. I liked the fact that this was very unique. It did have the same kind of feel as The Ring, definitely felt a lot of The Ring inspiration throughout. I definitely think that The Ring is a better movie and a movie that I watch a lot of the time, whereas this one is probably a one and done for me. It's terrifying. There are some parts in this movie that really shocked me. That ending is terrifying. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed this. I think that it's definitely worth the watch, and I do get the hype. Okay, so the next one, you're gonna wonder why this is high on the list, but whatever, this is my list, and it's the film The Valet, starring Samara Weaving. I loved this movie. It was so cute. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would, because I just felt like it was going to be super cliche, but this movie has a lot of heart. It's very sweet. There's a big shift in the middle of the movie that kind of goes from rom-com to like more of a drama, and it's very heartfelt, and there's more to it than the initial synopsis that you'll hear. This is a remake. I think that there was a foreign film made initially, and then this one came out. I've not seen the foreign one. Please let me know if you have, and if it's worth the watch. And the fact that I'm Latina as well, it was just nice to see Latin representation in a movie and have like the language there, and it just felt really homey for me, so that could also be why my enjoyment factor was high as well. But I just really liked this movie. I thought it was cute, and I would definitely rewatch it again. Okay, so the next one's also one that people either love or hate, and that is Hocus Pocus 2. I really enjoyed this one. I was really looking forward to this. I went in with high expectations, but obviously not too high because I love the first one, and I had a good time. I thought it was fun. The acting, the actors that came back into the roles did a really good job at picking up where they left off. I really, really enjoyed this. I liked the whole plot. I really enjoyed the beginning with the young versions of the witches. I thought that was really cool. Was it better than the first one? No, but I still think it's a very good sequel. It's going to be a part of my Halloween staples, so I definitely think it's worth checking out if you love the first one. Next, I have Glass Onion. This is the sequel to the Knives Out movie, or it's, I guess, a part of the series because it's a completely different cast besides Daniel Craig. I absolutely loved Knives Out. That was probably one of my favorite movies that year that came out. And this one was fun, but it didn't give me the same feeling. Sorry, my camera cut out, so now the sound is going to be a little bit off, but it is what it is. Glass Onion could have been a little bit shorter. I did see a lot of this coming. I knew who was behind everything, and it just didn't feel as much of a surprise as the first one. I still think it's fun. I still will watch more Knives Out mysteries because I think that they're really fun. But yeah, this one wasn't to the level of like Knives Out. Okay, so the next one is going to be a bit of a shock as to where it lands because it's not as high as you probably would have liked it to be. If this was a horror ranking, it would be in the top 10. But it's not. So the next one I want to talk about is Barbarian. This one was a big surprise for me. I definitely went in with high expectations. Lots of people were raving about this one. It was very different to what I thought it was going to be, which I think is the whole point. This film definitely slaps you around a little bit because it makes you think it's one thing and then it's another thing, and then you just don't know what the heck is going on or where this is going. So I do really enjoy that. I like the fact that this film was very different. It was very random, but I actually quite enjoyed myself watching this, and it's definitely a movie that I will rewatch. I think it has that rewatchability. It's fun. So the next movie I have on this list is Do Revenge. This is a Netflix movie, and surprisingly, it was a good one. This, I think it was more of a nostalgic feeling for me. I really enjoyed the fact that it reminded me of like 90s teen films like Jawbreaker and Clueless, and it also had a little bit of Mean Girls in there, so I really liked that. I'm not going to go too into it because I feel like I am taking way too long and I need to get the ball rolling to get to number one. It made a lot of commentary towards the 90s and 2000s films. There was a lot of similarities from those movies. I think it had a lot of inspiration from them. There are like literally similar or direct quotes from other movies in this movie, which I really liked because I love me some teen comedies, so I really enjoyed this one. At number 11, I have The Black Phone. This again is one that I feel like a lot of people will have higher up on their list, but this isn't just a horror countdown. This is a countdown of all the movies that I watched in 2022. I really did enjoy this one. Again, I'm going to rush through this, but I really liked this. It definitely gave me book feels. I know this is from a book, and this film really had a lot to offer and a lot of things happening that connected with each other. I really enjoyed all the performances in this. I think everybody was great, especially Ethan Hawke. He was so creepy, and that mask is so creepy. This was just really a good, fun thriller to watch, and it's definitely rewatchable. I will definitely watch it again. Obviously it's a thriller horror, but I really enjoyed this one. So now we're into the top 10, and at number 10 I have Elvis. So this one is not a movie that I would particularly rewatch, but I thought it was visually stunning. I think the performances were great. I think Austin Butler does an incredible job as Elvis. He definitely did his research. I just really like Baz Luhrmann. I love his films, and the song was just a lot of fun to watch, visually beautiful. It was kind of depressing sometimes, which is why probably won't be one that I will rewatch a lot. I mean, Baz Luhrmann's movies are pretty depressing. Is this my favorite of his? No, I definitely think he has other ones I would prefer over this, but I still quite enjoyed it, and I definitely think it's also worth a watch. Okay, at number 9 I have No Exit. So this is based on the book No Exit by Taylor Adams, which I absolutely loved. This book was my favorite book of 2021. And so I was really looking forward to the adaptation. I knew the adaptation was not going to live up to the book, but I wanted it to get there. There was some stuff that they changed in the movie which I wasn't a fan of. I wish they kept what was in the book. There's some pretty brutal scenes in the book that they didn't keep in the movie, which I think would have elevated the horror a lot more, and I would have loved that. There was chase scenes at the end that they didn't include, which I was really bummed about because I really loved those last 20 minutes of the book as well. So I really wanted that to be filmed and be able to watch that, but that wasn't included. It was really still entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I probably would pick the book over the movie. So if you haven't read or seen this, I would go with the book because it is a lot better. It's more fun. I definitely like the character in the book, Darby, more, but I still really enjoyed the performance of the main character in the movie. I think she was fantastic, and I would love to see her in more horror / thriller movies, but I did enjoy this film. It is definitely rewatchable, and I will be watching it again soon because I did have a lot of fun with it. But the book is definitely more fast-paced than the movie, even though the movie is also fast-paced. So you can imagine how crazy the book is. I absolutely love it. I rave about it all the time. I tell everybody to read it. So if you haven't read it, even if you've seen the movie, I still think you should read the book. The book is a lot more exciting than the film. At number 8, I have the film Not Okay, starring Zoe Deutch. Again, I love her. I will watch anything that she is in. So I was really excited about this movie. It was definitely different it ended differently to how I thought it would end, but I think it was very realistic and very in your face. I think that this has a lot of social commentary, and I think it's very it might be triggering to some people that are very social media obsessed. It's one of those movies that had me thinking about it a lot afterwards, so I definitely think that she's not a likable character, the main character, but you also, I mean, for me, I felt kind of empathy for her sometimes. At number 7, I have The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. This film had a lot of hype when it came out. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. I haven't rewatched it since it's come out on Blu-ray or DVD. I watched it once at the cinema and that's it. So it's not my favorite Batman movie. My favorite is still The Dark Knight, and I love Batman Begins. This one is probably not even as good as that trilogy. I like the fact that they showed a lot of Batman in this movie. It was mainly him. There was not much of Bruce Wayne going on. It was just about him. And I did enjoy that. I would definitely watch the sequel if they're making one. I don't know if they're making one, but I will definitely watch it because I did enjoy it. I did think this movie was visually really pleasing. And like I said, not my favorite Batman, but I still quite enjoyed it. And I am keen to watch more of this. So Batman's my favorite superhero. So at number 6, I have Watcher, starring Mika Monroe. I feel like it definitely gave me Alfred Hitchcock vibes, and I know that that's probably what it was going for. It felt like Rear Window. It didn't do anything new. It didn't bring anything new to the table, but I like how tense it made me feel throughout. And the guy who plays the suspicious character is like so good. He's so good. He's so creepy. I really, really enjoyed this one. I loved the ending. I thought the ending was so good. Okay, so now we're on to the top 5, and at number 5, I have the film Pearl, starring Mia Goth. So Pearl is the prequel to the film X, and this follows the character of Pearl when she was young and shows how she kind of got to the point where she did in the film X. If you've seen X, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't think you necessarily need to watch this before X. This one obviously came out after, and I like that order. I prefer to watch it after X. I think X was so good, and obviously I haven't spoken about it yet, so it's going to come up soon, but I really enjoyed Pearl. I think it was more of a psychological horror than a, you know, slasher the way that X is, but I still enjoyed this one. I don't know if I'm going to rewatch it or not. At number 4, I have the film Scream, or Scream 5 as you will, because I think that it's just too confusing if we just call it Scream. I went to the movies to watch this in, I think it was January when it came out, and I loved it. It definitely feels a lot more like the first Scream because it copies a lot from the first one. This film was supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be very self-aware. It's very similar to the first one on purpose, and you'll know why if you've seen it. And I really enjoyed this. I liked the fact that it was more gory than the other ones, that you saw the kills better than in the other ones. What this movie was missing for me was a chase scene. There was no chase scenes, and I feel like the reveal didn't really do too much for me. I wasn't excited about it, but I still had fun, which is why it's still in my top 5, and I'm looking forward to Scream 6. I like the fact that it's taking place in New York City. That's something different, so I'm looking forward to that. And I have heard that there are going to be multiple chase scenes, which is exciting for me. I love slasher movies. You guys know they're my favorite horror subgenre, so I'm excited that they're making more slasher films because I definitely think we need them. At number 3, I have the film Nope, and I feel like I can't really say too much about this movie without giving anything away. So to keep it spoiler free and short, I'm just going to say that I really enjoyed this one. It definitely did something different for the genre. I know that this isn't everyone's favorite Jordan Peele movie, but I do really like this one. I've liked all his movies, so I really do like this one, and I think it's probably the most rewatchable of all 3 of his films. Not the best one, but the most rewatchable and the most entertaining. Okay, so now we're down to the top 2. And in my number 2 spot, I have the movie X. So we were talking about this before. X is the very first movie of the X Pearl franchise. Is it even a franchise now? It's going to be a trilogy, I think. There's a movie called Maxine, which is the sequel to X, which is coming out, I believe, in 2023. So I'm excited to watch that because it's going to take place in the 80s. So this film, I think, takes place in the 70s, and it's very much inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I loved this. I thought it was very weird. Initially, I gave it 5 stars when it first came out. I've dropped it to 4.5 now because I watched it again and I didn't love it as much. But I do definitely think this is the best horror movie that's come out in 2022, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. Okay, so in my number 1 spot, I have the film Top Gun: Maverick. This was by far my favorite movie of the year. I loved this more than any of the other ones. I just love this movie. Everything about it, the action, the heart, the character development, the fact that you actually care about these people and what happens to them. I really liked that. I liked it more than the first Top Gun, and I really love the first Top Gun. It's one of my favorites. So The fact that this tops it for me says something. I think that this movie was excellent. I think there's nothing in this movie that I would change. I like the fact that this movie sort of mirrors the first one without it being too much of a copy paste. And I feel like there's so much I can say about it, but I can't drag this video on for longer because I've definitely gone over an hour. So I'm gonna leave it there, but thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Please give it a thumbs up. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you. It really helps with my YouTube algorithm and the growth on my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it so much, and happy 2023. I hope that we get as many great movies this year as we did last year, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.